again. Oh, hello. Thank you. I am in no ways tired, right? As the governor says, we're going to sleep when we're dead, okay? For those of you who are more moderate, you can take a nap after 62 days, right? Yeah, yes. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge, first of all, the school shooting in Georgia today. Our hearts are with all the students and the teachers and the families. This is a senseless tragedy yet again. It is far too common. Our students, parents, and you, our teachers, deserve the right to go to school every single day without fear for gun violence in your classrooms. We have to say this, and we have to say it every chance we get. Like the Vice President said earlier today in her remarks, we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all. It doesn't have to be this way, right? So, yes, yeah. So thank you for allowing me to acknowledge that and to acknowledge what that means as a profession, right, when we hear this news. Because you've been through almost a week of school, maybe some of you a lot longer, right? Started earlier, yeah, right? So we are back to school. You taught all day, right? Yep, and now here you are, all fired up and ready to go, and it's pretty exciting to be with you. For those of you who might not know, you don't, I guess, after that spectacular introduction, but it's in my remarks, so I'm going to say it. I'm Gwen Walz. And most importantly, I'm proud to be an educator for Harris. Right? Yeah. Right? Great signs. And thank you so much to all of our special guests today, including the amazing Becky Pringle, president of the NEA. We have president of the Michigan Education Association, yeah. Congresswoman Hillary Skolton, and our special guest, Whip Kathleen Clark. So thank you. Thank you. It's Skolton, I said it right. Yeah. You know what I thought of? In Minnesota, we say Vikings, we say Skol. And so I was thinking Skolton. Yeah, oh, got it. Got it. Got it. You know how it is in a classroom. You want to get those names right, right? It's a little nerve-wracking. Yes. Yeah. So it is wonderful to be with you during my favorite time of the year, which is back to school. There's just nothing like it. Now, two of my sisters are teachers also. And yeah, and my parents are proud retired teachers. Yeah. One of my sisters in the medical profession, a doctor of physical therapy, and my parents wonder why they failed there. But just a family thing. So the first day of school in our house is pretty much a holiday and always has been. So I hope it is for all of you too. And I know you've had varying degrees of when you've started school, but in Minnesota, most of us start after Labor Day because that's when the state fair ends. And you know that school calendar, right? That's how that goes. And so our son is a senior this year, and he's in the second day of school. So it's, yeah, right? Yeah. Yep, go Gus, that's right. There is, do any of you feel this gravitational pull? It happens shortly after the 4th of July. You could be in any store, like Target or CVS or whatever, and suddenly you find yourself in that school supply aisle. Yeah, right? You're looking at pens, you're looking at notebooks, you're looking at folders. Yeah, yep, we all think alike. You're looking where you can get that folder for a dime because you're buying them for every student who's not going to have them in your classroom. And yeah, that whole thing. That still happens to me. And it is a gravitational pull I feel in my bones. Now, it's a little harder with Secret Service, but It is, but I still feel those pens and pencils and notebooks in my very bones. And yesterday, sending Gus off to the first day of his senior year was a real milestone for us. It was kind of my very last day of school as a mom, right? You know, you count those things, right? And so now you all are going to have to share your first day of school things with me vicariously, because I don't know how I could ever live without that first day of school thing. And I appreciate all the school stories that so many of you are sharing with both Tim and I in so many ways. Please keep doing that, because to know you and to know your students is part of the important power that we feel as educators, right? It is part of that community, and by telling stories, we know that. Now, I met Tim as a teacher. We were teaching in Nebraska, and our school didn't have a lot of written money or resources or anything, so they took the old choir room, and they put a divider right down the middle, and they put him on one side, and I was on the other side. Anybody teaching in a room like that this year? Yeah. How many people have taught in a closet? Oh, I know. I hear you. We are with you. Yeah, and those are not part of your back-to-school dreams, are they? Do any of you still have those back-to-school dreams? I know teachers do. Yes. Is it that you are late and overslept on the first day? Yeah. Or you for uncontrollable kids sometimes. That's a nightmare. That's not a dream. No, no, just kidding. Just kidding. But we all have them, right? Because in our mind, we're just thinking about that school year. We're thinking about what that means for all those kids who are coming to us, right? Because nothing beats that moment when that classroom is filled with our learners for the new year, right? And our lessons are ready. Right, they're ready. I know just what you're saying. I know just what you're saying. And there's laughter in that classroom, too. But most of all, there are just unlimited possibilities in the air. Possibilities of what is to be at yet another brand new school year. And that's sort of how this election feels to me, too, right now. It feels like unlimited possibilities, like the beginning of something, like there are clean chalkboards and whiteboards out there and notebooks, you know, without the covers torn off, and just all of those things. We are feeling the joy and the hope, and we are ready for that fresh start. We are ready for a new way forward. And I want to make this very, very clear, because it's a bit of where we differ from the other side of things. This is a new way forward for all our sons, our daughters, our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues, for all of us, right? Not just some of us, all of us. Okay? Now, I'm an English teacher, you know, so pronouns matter, right? Right? Pronouns matter. Yeah, that should be a huge applause line. Pronouns matter, right? Yeah, right? And words matter. So that using all and everyone, that's really intentional, and that's really important. And that's the future Vice President Harris and Tim are fighting for with you, together with you. So now you know a little bit about Kamala and Tim, right? Because you learned that maybe at the watching the Democratic convention, or you're seeing some of the commercials, or you've read some of the things. So I wanted to just take a minute, because I believe in building relationships with my peers and colleagues and people that we're going to work hand in hand with. So I wanted to tell you just a little bit about me. I wear a lot of different hats, or in my case, I say a lot of different shoes. Right? I like shoes. I'm a mom, and that's really an important thing to me, because I wanted to make that choice. I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a retired military spouse. And right now, it's the honor of my life to be the First Lady of Minnesota, a state where I was born, a state where I grew up in. If you fly just over that big lake, you're going to end up in that other state that starts with an M. We have a lot in common. But for so much of my life, I've been a teacher. Tim and I often say this. We say that teaching is not just what we do. It's not just the career that we chose. Teaching is who we are, right? You know this. And so when we met in that divided classroom in Nebraska, he was teaching social studies, I was teaching English. It was a shared classroom, and you know, it was louder on that other side of the classroom. Really, a lot louder. Okay? But we knew this. We both believed that education had the power to be transformative for everyone. And that's what we shared, right? That's what we shared. And that's how we began building our relationship together. It was a common view that we shared about students and a passion for education. And we saw it firsthand, because this is how it worked a little bit. We had a student named Waylon, and Waylon was on the football team. You all know the coach part of that thing, right? And that year, he was in my English class. Now, Waylon was brilliant on the football field. You know this story, yeah. But he was difficult in my classroom. What I didn't know when the school year started, and neither did Tim, was that Waylon was reading way, way, way below grade level. You know this story too, right? And he was acting out because he didn't want his peers to know that, and he didn't want me to know that. And the school had this rule that if a student was failing a core class, you couldn't do what? Couldn't play sports, right? And what do you think was keeping Waylon in school? Football, sports, right? So yeah, so we had a problem there. So I decided I was going to huddle with Coach Walz and make a different plan. And so we came together and we did, and we talked to Waylon and we said, here's the deal, you have to learn to read. So you're going to have to come in for tutoring. And we can do it before school, at lunch, after school, whenever you have a minute. We don't need long, but we're going to work on this. Then that's going to be the deal. You show up, you work hard, and you can keep playing football. He agreed, and he did work hard. And his reading began to improve. And when football season was over, Waylon just kept right on reading. We never said anything about it. We just kept right on reading. But through that classroom, his coach would walk and would sit down with him and talk about books and read with him and ask Waylon to read to him. And he encouraged him and he cheered for him. And what came out of our partnership was that we all won, most especially Waylon, because he graduated and he had a shot to succeed, a shot at the future. We do this, teachers, one student at a time, one plan at a time, one reader at a time, one day at a time. Because we believe in our bones that everyone deserves a chance to get ahead. It is the most important gift we can give to a child. And it is a vision that Tim and Vice President Harris also share. Now together, they're going to build on that, and they are going to build an opportunity economy. You might have heard Vice President Harris talking about this a little bit earlier today. And that's super important, because when people work hard, they can have a chance at success. And VP Harris specifically talked about what this means for the middle class. And most of us in here, teachers, we are the middle class, right? We are the middle class. And we all are working hard and helping our students work hard, because we know that those policies that she is advocating for and putting forth, now, they lift up hardworking middle-class families. Families like our own. That's super important. That's called an advocate, right? Yeah, yes. Now, Trump and Vance see this differently. Their Project 2025 agenda would devastate a generation of students. Let's just be really clear on that. From slashing public school funding, right, like completely, to telling parents what books their children can read. Now, I'm just going to say, I have not seen in all of the information that I have looked at any sort of degree in education, curriculum, or instruction for either Mr. Vance or Mr. Trump. So I don't think so. I don't think so. But that's not all. Trump and Vance want to radically reshape the world those students enter. They'll cut taxes for the ultra-rich while raising taxes on the rest of us. They'll gut our Social Security and our health care. And I'm not saying these things as like scary things. These are the things that they say in their plan. They'll attack organized labor every single chance they get. And make no mistake about it, they are coming for our reproductive freedom. Right? Now, I recently heard J.D. Vance say that he's really disturbed by teachers who don't have biological children. Well, for a long time, Tim and I were teachers who struggled with infertility. And while we only were able to start a family because of fertility treatments, that was our choice and our decision. And now Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are putting fertility treatments at risk nationwide also. So for me, this is really personal. And I think it is for millions of Americans out there. Because if you haven't experienced this firsthand, I guarantee you, you know someone who has. Even if they might not be saying so at that moment. So I'm just going to say that we do not take too kindly to folks like Trump and Vance telling us when, if, or how we can start our families. All right, now get ready. In this election, we are going to send them a message loud and clear that they cannot miss. So I'm going to use my teacher voice here. And then I'm going to ask you to join me in using your teacher voice here, right? So Mr. Trump and Mr. Vance, please mind your own business. All right, try it with me. Teacher voices. Mr. Trump, Mr. Vance, please mind your own business. All right. See when we say it together, how very powerful that is. Never underestimate your teacher voice. The school year is just getting started. I mean, we only have 62 days until the election. And teachers know that days and minutes count. I mean, we are the ones who plan our day in 3-minute increments, 5-minute increments, and 10-minute increments, right? Every minute counts. And you're sticking with that, right? You have it detailed. I know it. I do it too. So we also know how to maximize time. And we know how quickly it can go when there's lots of work to be done. So I'm asking you, if you will be lesson plan purposeful with every minute from now until the election and help make them count. Will you? Yes. Yes. Write a lesson plan, turn it in, and let's do it, right? Now, my mom is a retired PE teacher. Yep, right? And who PE teachers, right? Okay. My mom is 86, and she still goes into substitute teach on occasion. Yeah, call my mom. Yeah. She's also a church organist, so you don't know my mom, but you know my mom, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she always said this to me growing up. There were 4 of us, 4 girls, and she would say to me, Gwen, you must do the work that's in front of you. Now, when I was growing up, I thought that meant like the dishes, right? Or something like that, or maybe my homework. But as I grew and learned, I recognized what she meant. She meant, seen through my own eyes, I must identify where I could use my skills, my talents, my hard work, and my vision of what service might be. And it was really an important thing that was both thoughtful and actionable to do the work that was in front of me. Now, I know the work that's in front of you every single day. And I know how hard that is, and I know how much there is to see, and I know how overwhelming that is. I want you to know that I know that. And I do not forget it. But I am asking you to be thoughtful and actionable, and to join me in that work that is in front of us, both in our schools and in this election. I am asking you to volunteer. I'm asking you to show up at stuff like this. I'm asking you to bring your friends. I'm asking you to have hard conversations. I'm asking you to bake cookies for the people who are making the calls, and then make the calls, and then bake bars for the people who are doing the door knocks, and then do the door knocks, right? And then have a taco supper, tacos in a bag. Help each other out. Make a hot dish for that person down the road who's volunteering all the time. You can see our recipes online. I have some for you, right? Okay. Let's be teacher creative. Really. Let's find ways that teachers know, that teachers figure out. Let's use our teacher minds to think about this race and this election, and to get to people that maybe we couldn't have gotten to before, that others can't get to. Let's be the educators we are, and use our power in the way that we can, in the way that we will, in the way that we know. That's special to our profession, to who we are, to what we know, to what we can do together. And together, you and I and Tim and Kamala and Doug and friends and neighbors and everyone on the stage and everyone in here, we together, but only together, are going to build a future for all of our children. Yeah. Last thing, never underestimate the power of a teacher. My high school teacher, Mrs. Raymer, we called her Runoff Raymer because she gave us so many handouts. Mrs. Raymer, my high school English teacher, organizes a group of mostly retired teachers who write postcards and have for every single race that Tim and I have run. I know, my teacher does that. Can you imagine what that inspires in me? She still sees my potential, Mrs. Raymer does. They even practice persuasive conversations at her group meetings. And they come in and report their numbers of how many postcards they've sent and conversations they've had. And they write it down in a thing that looks like a grade book, one of the old grade books, right? Yeah, they talk about their targets and they talk about what they're going to do. You know why? Because Mrs. Raymer believes in me and she believes in Tim. And that gives me all the confidence I need, because my teacher knows I can. She knows I can. I know you can. I know we can. Thank you, Mrs. Raymer. Thank you, teachers. Let's win!